What is going on, guys? My name is Landon. Today I am bringing you guys a third video. This is my, I think someone tweeted at me to call it a trip load or a trip load. This is my third video for today. I'm going to go and link all the videos that we talked about recently on the screen for you guys right now. I'm putting more work on myself, but it's fine. If you guys are curious, I talked about in last night's video about 100 Thieves, Nate Chat's new team. Feel free to click on the screen somewhere for that. We talked about the patch 1.09, what that means for competitive. A lot of stuff that was mentioned in that patch that is very, very useful and very interesting when regarding the competitive scene. Put that on the screen somewhere also. And I also put up a video on the conclusion to roster changes. Now, there is a couple things that are still iffy as of right now, especially, but I am making this video a couple hours before the Call of Duty World League does start. So yeah, that'll be up on the video too somewhere, just to let you guys know that. So we've been making a lot of videos recently. I've really enjoyed doing it, and I want to know your guys' opinion on the amount of videos that I've been making. Do you guys appreciate stuff like this? And if you guys do like videos like this, or just like videos in general, go and leave a like. I did that in the last video, and it seemed to get a lot of thumbs up, and you guys seem to really appreciate it and stuff. So if you guys want to already do it now, go ahead and leave a thumbs up, because today we are starting a series. Yes, a series, and it is known as the, I guess say it's kind of like my predictions, or the my Call of Duty World League Stage 2 preview is what it will be deemed as. And essentially we're going to go through every single match that's going to happen, not in a massive depth. This isn't going to be like a 30-45 minute video, even though I can make it that long. I'm not going to make it that long. I'm going to pop up some graphics on your guys' screen, let you guys know who's playing. We actually have a different format as well, because there's only so many matches that are on and going on throughout the day. I think we also have like a match of the week that happens now, going to be on Thursdays, and we also have a stream that's going to be played off stream. So that's kind of interesting. So we're going to see a little bit of a new dynamic when it comes down to the Call of Duty World League scheduling. So you're not going to see as many matches per night as you normally would. So with that, we're going to pop the graphic on your guys' screen. You guys can see this is what the format and how these graphics are going to kind of look throughout the rest of this series. And these are the matchups heading into Stage 2, Week 1, Day 1. So many words, so many letters and stuff like that. But yes, we're going to look at some of our main matchups, and also things that we'll be looking at are the topics for the week. Those are some patch notes and roster moves, as well as the 100 Thieves announcement. And I will have those video links off in the corner. If you guys are interested, you guys might not hear enough information about it. I'm going to go over to that video. Feel free to obviously click that annotation as well for those who are interested. So yeah, those are the topics you're going to be keeping in mind, the patch notes and stuff. I'm not going to be mentioning that when it comes to my regular predictions, but just know that's the thought behind a lot of my predictions. The reasoning behind why things could happen this week are due to those topics of the week, which I think is kind of a cool addition. So yeah, we'll go and hop into our first matchup. It's going to be consisting of TSM going up against 100 Thieves. And to put it in a very quick statement, I guess you could say, about the 100 Thieves rosters, obviously that is the old King Poppy team. Nate Chat announced last night that he has officially picked up that team, will be the org owner, and they're now going to be under the name of 100 Thieves. No roster change or anything like that, just more of an org change, more than anything else. So this is a new team. Obviously this roster ended up making it through the relegation, taking out Team Caliber, a beaten Team Caliber, and I say a beaten because they technically kind of lost the game before they even started it up. Gunjar was obviously not able to be there, and now Gunjar's on a league team. Kind of funny how that ended up working out for him. But yeah, Gunjar obviously was not able to show up to that event due to visa issues, and so it was Mbos who actually had to fill in for that one best of 7. Didn't really work out for them, so the 100 Thieves team has made it into the league. And I'm not trying to like advertise my videos or anything like that. I know I keep saying this, but if you guys want to click that link in the topics for the week, I do go more in depth with who that roster is, who's kind of on that team, and so on and so forth. If you are interested, I'm not trying to like constantly talk about that throughout the video, but still, that's just there if you go for those who are curious. They're also reversing up against TSM. TSM narrowly was able to make it through the first season, finishing off in 7th place with a 9-13 overall record. This roster currently consists of Ivy, Wheats, Pac-Man, and Colchan. Obviously, Ivy was the main objective player for this team. Wheats was kind of over the season as Proofy left the team. Once Ivy came back in, Wheats basically switched roles with what was Proofy and now Ivy. That was kind of like a 3-team type of role switch in some ways, to where Wheats was actually more running an AR presence, a Pac-Man as well, and also Colchan was a main, subs slayer, sniper player who also had a really good season for him. Ended up finishing, I believe, out the league with a 1.01 KD. Coming into this matchup, I'm automatically thinking of nerves for 100 Thieves. This is their first league match. This is their first day. They're really excited to play against these guys, of course, and they're very motivated. But I think when it comes down to it, I feel like TSM is definitely going to be kind of a thorn in their sides, being the fact that they have so much experience. We've seen that in constant league matches, whether it's NA, EU, or ANZ. Even when it came down to relegation, there were so many teams who were just much better composed because they were used to these situations. So I'm not taking any away from 100 Thieves. I was also watching H-Shot stream last night where he was playing with them. They said they needed to practice more. They hadn't really been practicing too much. And honestly, I'm not a big fan. If you are in the league and you're technically the biggest, I say the biggest underdog, but you guys know what I mean. Like, they are the underdog for this stage. They are the underdog without a doubt. People are predicting them to not take one matchup. I'm sure they'll take, a couple. I'm not trying to hate on it, but I'm sure they'll take at least a couple. I'm sure they'll do pretty well. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the fact of coming into a league and not even really scrimming, especially if you are an underdog squad. So with that, I'm going to give TSM the W for that. We're going to move on to our next matchup. It's going to be consisting of Cloud9 and Dream Team. For those who don't know really the Cloud9 roster, this team consists of Havoc, Lamagod, Mochilla, and Happy. Really excited to see these guys play. I'm honestly kind of, like, for those who don't know, Havoc was basically is in my mind, a main slayer for this team. We even saw him be a substitute for Envious for the longest time, you know, for those couple weeks that were kind of involved. We didn't really know what was going on with Aches. Obviously, Havoc was that guy who ended up filling in for them, and he played pretty well. I don't think they really won hardly any games with him, but he still played pretty well, especially facing Optic. I believe he had like a 1.06 KD or something like that, which is really impressive, especially when you're playing some top teams, and they didn't have an easy week when he was playing, to say the least. So they are going to be going up against a Dream Team squad, who, as far as roster mania goes, as far as roster moves go, we know what happened with DT. You know, they get rid of Cinder, Diabolic leaves to try to go over to Envious. That doesn't work out. They pick up Parasite and Space Lily. That doesn't work out either. Those two ended up leaving. Parasite, you know, forced and Space Lily decided to leave on his own. So Cinder and Diabolic ended up coming back. So the team in some ways has gone through a number of different changes. They're now back to square one in some ways. And I'm not sure if that really helps them or not. I don't think this is like DT coming back and saying, oh, you know, the squad's back together. I think it's just like, you know, we were put in an awkward situation and we got lucky that we aren't worse than what we were before. Dream Team obviously ended up finishing 10th along with a 7-15 record. I think it's interesting as well that the first two matches that we're going to be able to see on stream will actually be the new guys, or the two new squads, being 100 Thieves and also Cloud9, who ended up making it through, you know, relegation, along with, what, H2K and actually Dream Team, funny enough. So, yeah, this should be pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to this matchup. I do actually have Cloud9 taking this. I know how hard, and I would say like this, I know that Cloud9 has been scrimming a lot, and with DT having constant issues, I'm not sure if that chemistry is just going to be there off the start. Cinder, to me, will be a main person for DT, kind of rebuilding back to what was their old chemistry. I'm not sure what's really going to happen. I think we definitely need to see Killa step it up for this stage too, especially this week. First matchup, why not start it off really well for him? He did perform very well on LAN for them, but when it comes to online, it's kind of sad, but Call of Duty is more of an online game for right now, but we do have announcements that will be coming about more events, and maybe particular for more videos. But still, I'm definitely going to give Cloud9 the advantage for this one. I'm going to give them the W for this, and we'll go and move on to our next matchup between Luminosity and FaZe. So it's kind of hard for me to talk about Luminosity because I'm not exactly sure what's going on with their roster right now. You know, it's kind of hard to explain, but essentially the rumor and the finalized roster apparently was supposed to be TP and Study along with Replays and Saints, because basically he's obviously a free agent. He was dropped from this team a while ago. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Study kind of tweeted out a little bit earlier today along the lines that, you know, something happened. He was a little bit distraught and how this thing keeps always happening to him. And a lot of people are relating that to roster changes. So we haven't exactly seen anything happen yet. And I'm really hoping that something happens as I'm talking about it, kind of staring at Twitter right now, waiting for the announcement to be made. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. I can't really talk about Luminosity as a whole squad yet because I'm not really sure what's really their whole dynamic. Either way, though, I am giving the win to FaZe to kind of shorten it up just a tad. I think FaZe is looking, you know, fairly well. I'm not really sure what they're going to be firing out with. I know FaZe has kind of realized in some ways that we are no longer the step below Optic. We are no longer the runner-up. We are still fighting for, you know, championship contention. Like, we're no longer that second squad right behind Optic or even beating Optic sometimes. And there's obviously been a lot of arguments with FaZe on stream. A lot of hard arguments between Enable and Zuma especially. I think this team is kind of battered, to be honest. This team has kind of been thrown for a loop a little bit, and I'm not sure how they're going to be able to respond. So I'm really got my eye focused on this FaZe squad. Hope that they can at least play a little bit better, play a little more consistently, and even have a better season than they did in the past. Because I want them to be up there with Rise and obviously Optic for that first spot. Obviously Optic's number one right now. Rise is in that second spot. But FaZe, where do they lie? Do they improve, or do they you know, decline a little bit? That'll be the question, and the one to be that will remain to be seen. But either way, I'll give them the W for this matchup. Moving right along, we have Envious going up against Elevate. Elevate, obviously a team who did not make any changes, being the old TR squad, as everyone knows, back from Advanced Warfare. Aqua, Vicento, Nagafin, and Remy. Looking forward to seeing those guys play yet again. I know that they've been screaming a little bit on and off, working on their hardpoint game over the season, or the off season, I guess you could say, during the split. And they look really good. I'm really excited to see this roster kind of perform. And to me, Elevate, without a doubt, throughout the regular season was kind of looked, at least in my opinion, at times, like they were the squad who was always playing fairly well, but was never really recognized. I'm actually looking to see, I believe, yeah, they ended up finishing 4th in the overall season. Aqua definitely was the main slayer for the squad, played incredibly well. There are rumors about roster changes. They get rid of Vicento because he's more of an objective now, but Remy's more of an objective player. I don't think the roles have been fully solved out for this Elevate squad, but I still think that they're looking fairly well. You gotta look at this Envious squad, man. I mean, granted, this is a new team. This is obviously, like I said, a new squad, along with Slasher and also JCap. You now have the additions of Apathy and John, who look absolutely insane. I don't know if we're gonna see like the amazing Envious. It wouldn't surprise me if they end up losing this game, to be completely honest with you. I do give the W to Envy, but one thing to be looking out for is this is a new squad, this is a new team. Everyone's seen with rosters that do form, you're gonna lose your first event. Even when Optic Gaming first started, like, one of the most dominant teams of all time, a dynasty in OG, they ended up losing their first event. Their first couple matchups, they looked a little bit slow in at times. So I'm just kind of relating that to someone else. But I think Envious, and not trying to compare Envy to the OG or anything like that, but still, I think Envy looks pretty good. I'm really excited about this team. I think the roles are finally solved out. Slasher's back to an AR, which I know he feels comfortable with that. And adding on Apathy and John, who are absolute incredible slayers. I cannot wait to see Apathy, the #1 free agent from all the roster changes and stuff. He was the main guy behind all of it, and I'm really excited to see his choice and how that choice kind of reflected on him. So yeah, I'm going to give Envious the lead up in this series versus Elevate as well. The last matchup for day #1 is going to be Complexity going up against H2K. I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, but I'm almost positive that it will be Felony who is actually subbing in for one of the H2K players. I could have swore that it was him filling in for Lacefield. I saw someone saying that it's actually going to be for Fizzerp. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to say it's probably Lacefield. We'll see what happens, though. So already we're seeing H2K have a number of different, things kind of going on. I'm not sure if that's actually a roster change, like the same thing we saw with Aches back in Stage 1. A substitute when it's really his actual replacement. I'm not sure yet, and I will obviously have an update coming on that very shortly, or very soon, maybe even later in the video if I do figure it out, but I probably won't, to be honest with you. But still, I'm going to give this one a Complexity no matter what. Complexity obviously having a roster change as well, and to me, probably, as far as roles go, I'm not saying that they're the best team that came out of Roster Mania. I give that one to Envy, but I think Complexity is definitely a team who benefited from this change. Granted, you lose your best player, and I saw someone who mentioned this in my podcast chat the other day. He was like, Parasite is the best player, but the worst teammate for Complexity, and I totally agree with that, without a doubt. Definitely the best player for this team. When it came down to roles, when it came down to arguments, when it came down to certain things, Parasite absolutely kind of held this team back in some ways, not necessarily his overall skill, but I think the addition of Gunjar onto this team kind of fills out those roles. Nameless wasn't really a prevalent AR. That's now solved. Nameless is now the secondary AR, while Gunjar is obviously the main AR for this team. You have Ricky, who's going to be the third, kind of a little bit of a hybrid when it comes down to maps like Infection, or even at times on map like Breach. For the most part, he's going to be running a sub along with Miracles, and to me, Miracles is without a doubt as a player to be watching out for this Complexity squad, as a player who has to be turning up, because I'm going to actually check his overall KD. Not that KD decides everything, but you do kind of look at this for the Complexity roster and say, they did kind of lack that slaying presence. And it was, Miracles hit at 0.94 KD, so even one that's lower than Ricky's, and Ricky's more known as a support player. So, in my opinion, I think we definitely need to see Miracles play a little bit better this season. Gets it up to near around like maybe at 0.99, around at 1. Around there, I think this team could definitely improve, and I think the slaying presence of what Gunjar will do, the overall lanes watching, and overall just kind of hanging back, I think is going to be really good, and I cannot wait to watch this matchup between these two. But I'm giving the W to Complexity. So as a quick really recap, I'm going to show you guys, I have obviously all of the check marks, the X's on the screen right now. This is what we're going to have every week, of course. Now I'm going to go down the line, as you guys can see. TSM taking 100 Thieves, C9 over DT, FaZe taking out Luminosity, Envious will get the best of Elevate, and it will be Complexity closing out over H2K. Now let's go and look at our day 2 match. I actually say day 2 and day 3. So same stuff's on the screen still, as you guys can see, but we do have a couple different matchups. You also see that thing off stream, and also the key matchup of the week, or the match of the week. That's going to be going on actually on Thursdays. So for those who don't know, matches obviously go on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. The matches that we're looking at in the main frame are obviously the matches for Wednesday, as we just concluded the ones from Tuesday. And I believe the match of the week will be taking place on Thursday, along with the esports weekly recap that they do obviously every week. I'm not sure when the off-stream matchup is going to happen. I'm assuming that that's most likely going to be on this particular day, since they aren't playing. So it will be on a Wednesday. I kind of wish that we were able to see all streams. That's just personal preference for me. But still, though, we'll go ahead and move on, and we'll obviously look at our first matchup taking place between Dream Team and Luminosity Gaming. Like I said earlier, guys, I'm not sure what's going on with Luminosity Gaming. To be honest, it's hard for me to choose this one. I think, honestly, this could go either way, and I'm probably going to lean it toward there. But DT, to me, I'm not sure what's going on with them either. This is probably the hardest particular series for me to count out, because I'm not sure what's going on with DT, not sure what's going on with Luminosity, primarily with their roster. And if I did have that in the back of my mind, I could probably make a more accurate prediction in the long run. But I'm going to give DT a good chance here, but I'm going to give Luminosity the win no matter what happens. I think Luminosity is a better slaying team than DT. I think they're a good roster, but we saw how poor they were when it came down to Game 5s. Obviously, when it came down to relegation, they performed in Game 7s, but we're obviously back to best of 5s now. So we'll see what ends up going down. Looking forward to see how the Luminosity squad, whoever it is who plays for this team, performs. But they're looking pretty good as far as I've seen and how their previous squad looks, so I'm going to give them the W for this game as well. Next matchup we have is going to be Elevate, taking on H2K. Pretty similar teams when it came down to their overall dynamic for most of the season. Mostly Search and Destroy teams. Elevate, without a doubt, throughout Stage 1 was the best Search and Destroy team, having the best record, having Nagavan, who had the highest KD for overall players in Stage 1 of a 1.35, and also Aqua, who I believe was in like second or third or something like that, with a 1.20 S&D KD, and also I think they basically let in almost every Search and Destroy KD that existed out there, I think, except for like bomb plant percentage. But still, this squad is without a doubt great in Search and Destroy. They've been working on their hardpoint game. I'm giving them the victory for this game as well. Not taking anything away from H2K, but I haven't really heard too much about them, and obviously having a substitute heading into this week is not going to be that easy to work with. Felony is a great online player, which will definitely kind of be prevalent in this game, but I'm going to base this one and give this one Elevate. I think their searches are great. If they worked on their hardpoint game like I thought they had, they'll probably be up 2-0, if not 1-1 at least, and I'll give them the edge in that uplink, if not the CTF as well. So I'll give Elevate the win in this one, making them, I believe, did I actually have them going 2-0 this week? I think I don't. Actually, no, I don't. They faced Envy the other day. Either way, though, 1-1 for this week is Elevate. Good job, guys. Easily, this next matchup, without a doubt, has the potential to be a key matchup of the week. I definitely think the one that is the match of the week definitely deserves to be there, of course. But I think this one could definitely take second, without a doubt. We do have Optic Gaming going up against Envious, the El Clasico of Call of Duty. A new Envious roster, I think, who's going to be very well practiced. You also look at Optic Gaming, though, who haven't necessarily... I say they haven't necessarily been involved as much, but you also look at this team and you say they, I believe Karma and Crimsix, who have been in Australia, they've really been practicing it nearly as much, so they could be a little bit shaky. I mean, you'll have that first match, but they will be having, some games to practice on, and they're actually not going to be playing on day 1, so that's something to kind of keep in mind. This is going to be their first league match happening on day 2 versus Envious, and it has to be versus the squad as well. So this one, I think, is going to be really close. I think the hard points could be pretty close. I think OG will pretty much win this one in a 3-0, 3-1 fashion. But as Envy kind of progresses on, they're going to be learning little things here and there. And I said, after week 3, week 4, we're going to see the full-on Envious squad, how this team actually looks for real. But this will be a good testament for them. This will be a good experience for the Envious squad to kind of realize, take this with a grain of salt and kind of move on. But I'm without a doubt giving OG the win in this one as well. Moving on to FaZe versus Complexity, a pretty heated matchup. When it came back to the previous season, I think FaZe was obviously that team who used the unintended lines of sight, Clayster's video. Complexity ended up forfeiting for that, and I believe when it came down to land, when FaZe and Complexity played with one another, FaZe was like, the only way that they could beat us is when they forfeit us. And it was like, kind of like a continuing rivalry. I know Parasite was kind of in the midst, kind of like behind the curtain when it came down to that overall, spiel between one another. But I'm definitely giving FaZe the advantage in this series versus Complexity. You have to keep in mind, though, the addition of Gunjar to me is definitely great for them, but they are still working on a little bit of communication. I always say, adding a new player to your team is 25% of your gameplay, 25% of your communication, 25% of your gunfights, which are going to be changed in some regards. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. I am giving FaZe the victory in this. I think it has the potential to be close because I think Complexity in some ways got a little bit better, but you do have to keep in mind the Search and Destroy strats, all of the little minute details that were in this Complexity squad in some ways are diluted because Parasite's no longer there. The mastermind behind Complexity is not going to be there anymore, and the addition of Slang Presence, will help, but it also kind of degrades. So we'll see how that transition kind of goes with one another, but I am giving FaZe the victory, for this matchup. Last regular game that we're going to be having is going to be Rise Nation taking on TSM. Off the start, I'm going to say Rise Nation probably takes this one, not taking anything away from TSM. I know there's been rumors of roster changes with them too. I don't think they're going to have any, at least for right now, but Rise to me, without a doubt, look incredible when it comes down to slang. I can actually take a look really quickly and see, as far as the regular, the first season went, because both of these teams haven't made roster changes, how they had up in their matchups. And their verse records as far as stage 1 went, Rise ended up beating TSM 2-0 and had a 6-1 overall map record. So TSM in the first season only was able to take out 1 map in their 2 series encounters. Unless something crazy happened with the Rise Nation roster, which I don't think it's happened, they've been scrimming like crazy. They've, without a doubt, to me, probably been the most practiced team heading into this particular weekend, or week, I guess you could say. And I'm going to give the Rise Nation the victory in this, without a doubt. If not a 3-0, then a 3-1 at least. Moving on to our off-stream matchup, we'll talk about this really quickly. C9 versus 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves, in my opinion, will probably come off a little bit of a loss after the previous game the day before, or And this is on Thursday. I'm pretty sure this will be on Wednesday. So the day before. I'm giving Cloud9 the victory in this, though. Not taking anything away from 100 Thieves. They look pretty good. But like I said, they're not practiced. They've not really been working on their game. And it'll take them a couple weeks to kind of get used to the Call of Duty World League being in a professional setting, playing with the best players in the world. And as young as these guys are, royalty regardless, who has a little bit of experience with like playing at a more professional level, it's going to take them a little bit of time to get used to this. And I think C9 as well, but C9 obviously has a lot of veterans on that. I said a lot of veterans, but they have a lot of players with experience, I will say, much more in comparison to 100 Thieves. So I'll give C9 the victory in that as well. So now time for our key matchup. Man, this is about to be hype. I'm excited. Optic Gaming going up against Rise Nation. Landon, what is your prediction for OG versus Rise Nation? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. I think it's going to be a fantastic series. I would not be surprised whatsoever if it ends up going to Game 5, Search and Destroy. These teams have looked incredibly good in the regular season. It's kind of an interesting thing to kind of bring up because in Rise Nation's encounters with OG in the regular online season, they actually went 0-6 versus them, meaning that they lost both series 3-0, which is kind of surprising to me, thinking how well that Rise Nation did on LAN. Octane, of course, a main slayer for this Rise Nation squad, 1.19 KD, third KD overall in the league. Right behind, though, Formal Scump in those first two spots. So, to me, as far as online goes, I definitely favor OG. I think Rise Nation has a lot of practice behind them, but OG, thankfully for them, this is not their first game. If the OG versus MV game was happening in place of Envy, it was Rise, I would probably give Rise the victory, most likely. But since this is OG finally kind of getting back into things, I think that OG will most likely take this, but you have to keep in mind, OG hasn't necessarily been practicing as much as Rise has. Rise has been hungry, they've been thirsty to try to get back in the season, and they want to do even better than they did in the past one. So with that, they obviously finished with a 16-6 record, finishing in that second place right behind OG with 20-2. What will happen in this game? Let me know down in the comments. That's what we're going to do for the rest of these videos. I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Who you guys think is going to take this victory between one another? I'm personally choosing OG. Who do you guys have? Optic Gaming versus Rise Nation. Put it down in the comments as well. What you guys' thoughts are behind the matchups. Anything that I talked about, feel free to talk about it down in the comments. And I'll go ahead and go over these matchups really quickly and which ones I had taking the W's. I had Luminosity taking out DT. I had Elevate taking out H2K. Optic over Envious. FaZe over Complexity. Rise over TSM. Cloud9 over 100 Thieves. And OG outing Rise in the key matchup, the match of the week. So guys, really quickly before we go ahead and conclude this video, if you guys would like to, go ahead and go down in the description. You guys can actually participate in a prediction league that's going on Cardi Sportspedia. I will have a link down there. All you have to do is make an account if you don't already have one already. If you don't know who Cardi Sportspedia are, I don't really know where you've been at. But still, go ahead and click on the links down below. You guys can obviously enter yourself into the contest and maybe even walk away with first place after the season does end. And we can kind of compare our league spots. If you guys would like to tweet them at me or your predictions on Twitter, feel free to do so. We'd actually love for that to kind of happen. So yeah, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I know I talked about it in the earlier part of this video, but feel free to leave a like if you guys did enjoy more videos. I'm going to keep these as consistent as possible to do these for every single week that does go down in the Call of Duty World League. You guys' thoughts on the matches, like I said, feel free to put those down in the comments. Continue this video down in the comments. The comments are always a way to kind of interact with you guys, and I love to do that. So that has been it for the triple upload of the week. I need to take a break, maybe play the new DLC maps and watch some EU Call of Duty World League. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for me today. I'll see you guys all later. Have a fantastic day, and next time, peace out.